The world is standing on a knife's edge, and most people don't even realize it. While Europe sleeps, a silent storm is building, one that could redraw borders, rewrite history, and shatter everything we thought was safe. And in the middle of this storm, one warning rises above the noise. A warning that our leaders refuse to say out loud. Because if they did, we would all understand just how close we are to losing everything.
So what needs to be done? And this is where you could take out your pen, because I'm going to give you about 5 things that you have to do, okay, or make sure your government does. Number 1, change the culture within our societies. Our political leaders must speak to us as if we are adults and explain what is at stake and explain the price for failure. They must acknowledge that Russia is at war with us, even if we wish it were not so. Number 2, make sure that Ukraine defeats Russia and forces Russia to live within its own borders. That is the best way to defend Europe, and it would not cost the life of a single Dutch soldier. Ukraine is not asking for our soldiers. They just need the tools to defeat Russia, and that's what we should be providing to them. Now, there is recent good news on this front. I'm sure many of you saw that Sweden has agreed to sell over 100 Gripen fighter aircraft to Ukraine, and they just announced today that they're going to set up a factory to help build Gripens inside Ukraine.
What you just heard is not a suggestion. It's a survival manual for the free world. He's urging the West to finally confront reality. Russia isn't preparing for conflict. It is already pressing its aggression onto Europe. Supporting Ukraine isn't charity. It's Europe's shield, the cheapest and most effective defense available. And with nations like Sweden stepping in with game-changing fighter jets and even factories, the message is clear. The battle for Europe's future is unfolding right now, and hesitation is the enemy. And just when it seemed Ukraine had weathered the worst of Russia's brutality, the battlefield changed again. The smoke from Russia's twin waves of destruction had barely cleared when Ukraine made a decision that would send shockwaves across the Kremlin. This wasn't going to be another night of silent suffering. This time, Ukraine would answer, not with desperation, but with fire, precision, and a weapon Putin never expected to see unleashed at full force. For 2 relentless days, Russia hammered Ukraine with an intensity not seen since the darkest moments of the war. It began with a massive aerial barrage, 119 hostile drones tearing across Ukrainian skies on the night of November 11th. A storm of engines, explosives, and malice rained down on the contested regions of Donetsk, Dnipropetrovsk, Kharkiv, and Odessa. These drones launched from both Russian soil and the occupied Crimean Peninsula, spreading terror across the country. Ukraine's defenders fought back heroically, shooting down 53 of these Shahed and Gerin-type threats by early morning. But the brutal reality was undeniable. More than half slipped through. 59 unmanned weapons smashed into 18 different Ukrainian locations. And even then, the horror wasn't over. The strike was still in motion. Then came November 12th. Russia doubled down. This time 138 drones, Shaheds, Gerberas, and more swarmed into Ukraine's airspace, accompanied by an Iskander-M ballistic missile. Ukraine's air defenders managed to intercept 102 of them, a remarkable feat, but still 36 made impact across 10 locations. Much of this new assault zeroed in on the south, especially the Odessa region, home to crucial energy and infrastructure hubs, repair shops, administrative buildings, facilities that kept entire regions running. All were struck. And this was no isolated surge. It was part of a towering pattern of escalation. Throughout 2025, Russia had transformed drones into one of its primary weapons of terror. Since October, Russian forces have fixated on crushing Ukraine's energy infrastructure. 9 massed attacks before these 2, now likely 11. As winter approaches, Putin has chosen the cold as an ally. His objective? Break Ukraine's resolve by plunging cities into darkness, forcing civilians into freezing nights, and fueling desperation. The scale is staggering. By early November, Russia had launched an astonishing 44,000 Shahed drones in just 10 months. An average of 4,400 per month drone production has been supercharged, allowing Russia to unleash 303% more drones in 2025 than in the previous year. The attacks on November 11th and 12th were simply the latest chapters in this suffocating strategy. But Ukraine refused to break. Wounded, yes. Staggered, yes, but never defeated. Instead of retreating into silence, Ukraine rose with a ferocity that stunned observers across the globe. They did not wait. They did not hesitate. They struck back, fast, focused, and with a weapon Putin likely believed was still lurking in shadows. Ukraine unleashed the Flamingo. This fearsome creation, a hybrid between a drone and a cruise missile, is one of the most advanced long-range weapons Ukraine has ever fielded, born from domestic engineering. The Flamingo packs a terrifying punch. With a range of around 3,000 kilometers, nearly 1,860 miles, it can reach almost any critical facility deep inside Russia, even Moscow itself. At impact, it detonates over 2,500 pounds of explosives, enough to shatter reinforced structures and devastate Russia's energy infrastructure. And with a blistering speed of up to 900 kilometers per hour, the Flamingo strikes faster than many weapons in Putin's arsenal. It is, quite simply, a game changer. And on the night of November 12th, Ukraine unleashed it. Reports began to surface early on November 13th. Flames lit up the Russian city of Oryol, initially believed to be the primary target. Photographs from Telegram channels showed Flamingo missiles being made ready, cryptic captions hinting at what was coming. Russia's air defenses scrambled, firing interceptors into the night sky. Some debris crashed into courtyards near residential buildings, confirming at least some form of interception attempt, but then came the revelation. Oryol wasn't the only target. It wasn't even close. Ukraine's general staff stepped forward with an announcement that shook the entire Russian information space. The Flamingo strike was part of a far wider offensive. Several dozen military and logistical facilities across Russia and occupied territories were hit in one sweeping retaliation. This was methodical destruction aimed at crippling the machinery that feeds Putin's war. Ukraine deployed an arsenal, strike UAVs, jet drones, multiple missile types, and crucially, domestically developed weapons, including the Flamingo, Bars, and Lyuti. This was not a symbolic gesture. It was systematic fire destruction of the infrastructure sustaining Russia's occupation forces. Then came the details. The first target was Belgorod, struck around 5 p.m. on November 12th. Drones pounded an unknown facility, smoke curling into the sky, proof that Ukraine's revenge had begun. Soon after, Krasnodar Krai was hit, where a power substation was torn apart, leaving the settlement of Novokubansk in darkness. This was Ukraine reminding Russia that it could plunge its cities into blackouts too. The message was unmistakable. What you inflict on us, we can return. Next came Zaporizhzhia, occupied territory. Russia holds 3/4 of it, including the massive nuclear power plant. Unable to retake it on the ground, Ukraine turned to the skies. Videos showed Russian air defenses firing frantically at incoming Ukrainian projectiles. But Ukraine wasn't done with Krasnodar. Another strike, accompanied by the roar of a drone or missile, erupted into a giant explosion over Afipsky, home to a Russian oil refinery, another blow to Russia's energy power. Reports of damage in Oryol deepened. Structural destruction at the thermal power plant, a large hole torn through one of its workshops. Photos confirmed it. Meanwhile, in Crimea, occupied since 2014, massive blasts echoed through Feodosia. Earlier that month, Ukraine had already hit its sea oil terminal. Now, the new explosion suggested a double-tap strategy. Additional reports hinted at even more devastation. Drone storage sites, helicopter parking areas, radar systems, and key oil storage facilities all possibly hit. Zaporizhzhia saw more damage. An oil depot, command posts for Russia's 127th Motor Rifle Division, and the 5th Combined Arms Army all struck. Every piece of this vast operation pointed to one truth. Ukraine promised precise vengeance. And it delivered. Russia's official response? Almost nothing. Silence. Only Oryol's governor acknowledged anything, speaking vaguely of destroyed targets and falling shrapnel. Nothing about their power plant. Nothing about the dozens of hits across multiple regions. Silence is often the last shield of a regime facing humiliation. And within this silence rises the most important revelation of all. This strike marks the first time Ukraine has officially confirmed the combat use of the Flamingo missile. Rumors had swirled before, claims of Flamingo strikes in September and October, whispers of FSB buildings being hit. Even Zelensky said they were being used, but without specifics. Now, the proof is undeniable. The Flamingo is real, it is operational, and it has entered the war with devastating intent. And Ukraine isn't stopping here. Production is accelerating. By the end of 2025, entire squadrons of Flamingos may be rolling off Ukrainian assembly lines. Russia hit Ukraine with a wall of drones. Ukraine answered with a weapon carrying the power of an entire storm. The Flamingo has taken flight, and the Kremlin now knows exactly what it can do.